What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the 8th album by progressive rock band Coheed and Cambria. This one is called The Color Before the Sun. I actually struggled for a long time to get into this band, and I think the main problem that I'm having is that it feels like walking into a movie about 30 minutes late. You know you're missing some key plot points, but you don't exactly want to walk out of the theater, so you stick around, but you're not entirely sure what's going on. That's kind of how I felt about this band. If you're not familiar, Coheed and Cambria are known for writing concept albums in a certain world, a certain cosmos, and I just never really got the appeal. It just seemed like a lot of the songs were very general, and they could apply to other things, and it didn't stop me from loving some of their singles, like some of the songs off of Year of the Black Rainbow, and of course Good Apollo 4, but overall I've just had a mixed relationship with them. But I'm happy to say that the reboot is here, if you will. Not them necessarily starting the saga over, not by any means. In fact, they've gone completely unscripted, if you will, kind of off the cuff, not doing a concept album. It's much more raw and intimate on a personal level, and of course there were love songs and definitely some tragic songs in the Armory Wars, which is the storyline and kind of the timeline that we're following in all of those other 7 albums, loosely on some of them, and a much more narrative on others. But this time around, we're hearing thoughts from Claudio Sanchez talking about his son, talking about where he is in his life, and it's just really interesting to see that pour into a record. I was really excited to listen to it, especially after hearing the lead single, You Got Spirit, Kid. It's a fresh slate for this band, a new start, and I think it's something that they really needed at this point in their career. Claudio is a father for the first time now, and I think his creativity for this fictional universe that he was writing in, I think he was having to force it at this point, and I'm glad that he didn't make himself do that again. They're taking some time off, and I would actually like to see them do more stuff in the vein like we're getting on Color Before the Sun. Coheed and Cambria have been a band for 20 years now, something that I didn't even realize until I was doing research for this review, combining some progressive rock elements over the years and with metal, pop, a few other various styles of rock and roll music, and one thing that I feel like has always lacked from the band, even though they do have some very kick-ass moments in their discography, I think it's the element of relatability. Something that you see whenever you watch a movie like Avengers. You don't exactly relate to the superheroes and the epicness going on in a film, or even a loose narrative being told by a singer. It was something that I never really felt a connection to, not anything that I could latch onto. But with this batch of songs, I see it as being much more of a personal statement, and it makes it that much easier to get into this record. You've got a surprisingly awesome love song in the form of Here to Mars, a dedication to a newborn song with the epic 6-minute rock and roll Atlas, and then of course The Audience, which is just a fierce rocker right near the end of this thing. And a gist, I feel like this album swerves all over the road, but somehow manages to not totally crash or go off the course, and I think that's commendable. I definitely don't think every song on here is stunning, not by any means, and it's not that they necessarily hit some huge creative stride here, but I do like the raw nature found at the heart of this record. If you go in looking for the aggressiveness of songs like Welcome Home on every single song, that's not what you're gonna find. You're going in with the wrong expectations. Look for songs that are much more distant and a little bit more melancholy on moments like Ghost, which definitely is not a favorite of mine, but it is worth noting in terms of the style and pace change on the track, but then the much more memorable Young Love with the guitar riff that just sounds so pensive as it waxes and wanes on this track. I love how it just stands out as kind of like a beacon of light on this track, and Claudio Sanchez sounds very reflective on this track. I think he did a great job of putting a time in his life that he was going through to tape. The clattering drums are another thing that definitely stand out big time here on this track, eventually paving the way for the start of the song You Got Spirit, Kid, the lead single from this album. Speaking of that single, that song is like crack to me. I have not been able to stop playing it since it came out, and it's so different. I feel like a lot of people hate it, or else a lot of people love it, a lot of people not really on the fence. I feel like it's one way or the other with this song, and with time, I've become one of those people that absolutely loves this song. Perhaps one of the poppiest songs, if not the poppiest song that this band has ever put to paper, but at the same time, who the fuck cares if it sounds this great? The guitars still hit with the tenacity and fervor, the bass rolls steadily, and being straight up, pretty much every member of the band feels like they put their all into this track. They contributed well. I think Claudio sounds great here. Even the drum line on this track, while maybe a bit more standard, a little bit more pop friendly, I suppose, radio friendly, if you will, I still think that it moves something in me enough to where I'm still latching onto this track months later. Now, I couldn't help but notice whenever we got the single, there was a somewhat long fade out and transition that of course wasn't complete at the time because we only got one song. But listening through this 10-track album, there's like a long styled fade or else some sort of transition that kind of mixes things up right at the end of the track and crosses over into every single song. And I'm not exactly sure what that's going to spell for repeated listens on individual songs from this record. If I want to listen to You Got Spirit Kid, or if I want to listen to Atlas off of this record, or even the opening track, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal, Island. Am I going to be able to listen to them and enjoy them as much on their own just because they're connected so much? It's very much an album that's cohesive, and I think they made it that way on purpose, but I don't exactly always have time to sit down and listen to a 47-minute long album. There's a pair of long-winded tunes that close out Color Before the Sun, but one works significantly better than the other. One's a piece of progressive rock with a rollicking spirit about it, and the other is kind of repetitive and largely acoustic, and that track would be Peace to the Mountain. It goes on for way too long. They're both over 6 minutes long, but one does it a whole lot better than the other. And it's earnest enough, I suppose, and it sounds nice to start off with, but I just feel like it goes on, and I'm like ready for the album to end because it just keeps looping the same thing over and over again at the end of it, and it's just like, it's kind of when someone stays at the party for too long and you're just ready for them to go out the exit. So maybe the album is a bit choppy. There aren't a ton of huge surprises here on this thing. I'm not calling it a basic record, but I'm not saying that there's anything that's necessarily going to make your head spin. I'm feeling a light 3.5 for the new Coheed and Cambria record, The Color Before the Sun. So if you've heard this album, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments section down below, and don't forget to smash the like button while you're at it. Maybe subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. If there's other reviews you'd like to see me tackle, let me know with a comment, and of course I'm planning on tackling stuff like Demi Lovato, maybe a Red Hot Chili Peppers throwback review, and of course the new Beach House LP that's dropping very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.